Morning, everyone. So, another entrepreneurial profile. Listen, we're a hive mind. We're not by ourselves on this. And every entrepreneur it's a different journey. Along the way, there are different whys that brought us here. So, get ready for another inspiring conversation. Today, we have on Marcus Miller of Helm Real Estate. He'll be sharing he's a global resident. He's lived in so many places in the world, military, all the way through to entrepreneurship. So, something, enough of me talking. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. Paula Mattisonsierra of Power Marketing and the host of 10 at 10. So today on the show, Marcus Miller, Helm Real Estate, located here in San Francisco, is gracing us with his presence. Good morning, sir. How's it going?
Good morning, Paula. I love your energy this morning. How are you?
Thank you. And I just finished coffee too. So I don't know if I should just blame it on the Spanish coffee that I had this morning, but and so much gratitude to you, by the way, for doing this and being on the show. I know it was a last minute replacement, and I'm very grateful to you.
My
So
pleasure. Any way I can help.
definitely. And so I'm just gonna jump right into it. This is a 30-minute show. The entrepreneurs who watch this just don't have enough time, right? So, Marcus, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Puerto Rico as a young kid and grew up bilingually. So I'm a kind of an island boy. I have kind of an island spirit to me as it relates to it's funny because in my history and who I am, I'm a Pisces and so a water sign if you kind of follow those things, but love the ocean, love the water, and so being raised in an island, tropical island, I used to go with my family island hopping on our sailboat off of Fajardo, and so the islands and the ocean and being on a beach is my happy place.
Oh my gosh. So let me ask you a question. It's like with so much wonderful exposure in your family, was being an entrepreneur on your radar as a kid? Is this something that you wanted as a young age?
It wasn't necessarily something that I was contemplating as a kid, but I will tell you this: my grandfather on my mother's side was definitely a mentor.
Mm.
He was an entrepreneur. He owned his own companies. He started out as a tailor, which
Oh,
is an old school kind of a a very specialized area that is kind of starting to disappear
mm.
as a profession.
Yeah.
But he was a DTM, so distinguished Toastmaster. So
Oh,
he
wow.
was and he got me into Toastmasters, which
Oh,
then
wow.
and I'm like 16 at this point. So he
And
was
this
a
was
great.
in Puerto Rico. I didn't know Toastmasters is so international.
Well, it is, but my he actually lives in lived uh, in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is where my mother's from. So that actually is how I got introduced to the two Toastmasters, which then allowed me to learn how to speak in front of strangers and actually he was a really strong influence and mentor in the way I saw the world. He was also a Navy veteran
Oh,
during World War II, and so there was a lot of the influence that came out of that, which kind of forged the way I thought about working. And one of the things as my mentor, uh, his having his own businesses and calling his own shots was very attractive to me as a young boy and was inspiring.
yeah. I mean, what a wonderful thing to be exposed to at such a young age. It's just it should be part of our American curriculum, but it's just not enough, right? We're
That's right.
building workers and not necessarily folks who are the big picture folks, right?
That's right.
Um, it's so you mentioned like myself, so you are ex-Navy, yes?
Correct. I'm a Navy veteran submariner. Um, I was in during the Cold War, 83 to 92. And in fact, from my active duty, I spent 4 years. Home base was Charleston, South Carolina, but my submarine was based out of Holyloch, Scotland. So I was transiting back and forth, and it was a ballistic nuclear submarine, USS James Monroe, out of Holyloch, Scotland.
Wow.
So spend a lot of time, as we used to call it, 4 knots to nowhere, underwater. So, and also spent the equivalent of about a year underwater. So I had a lot of time to contemplate and think about what was important in life.
Sorry, of course, now it's melding together. The name of your company is Home Real Estate. Um, how important do you think it is as you're putting together your brand to really look at yourself as the brand as well as you're developing your name?
Well, that was, Helm Real Estate as an S corp here, registered in the state of California, was actually my co-founder and marketing director, Marlena Miller. We kind of really wrestled with different names, and there's
Why
something
not
to.
August Miller Real Estate? It seems kind of, most people go with the ego.
Well, yeah, no. So with respect to that, first off, whenever you hear of people redirecting or taking control of their destiny or the direction they're going to go, they're they'll mention like Paula took the helm of this institution and redirected it to bring it out of the chasm of problems that it was having, and now it is in the right direction, for instance.
Yeah.
So helm represents taking control and actually being able to pivot and redirect where you're heading. And it's a control for your heading, right? So if you want to go in a certain direction, you take the helm. And of course, my naval background, my love of sailing, informed that. The other thing, which I think, Paula, you probably know by heart and is a part of your wisdom, is that for whatever reason, 4 letter names actually are more memorable and more powerful with respect to branding. And that's just a part of sort of the scientific study of marketing and branding.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, tell me, when did you make the decision to journey into entrepreneurship? Because I mean, I know, with the Navy, I mean, you could have been in for a while and just stayed in and retired, and that was it. Because it sounded like you had a pretty long career there. Um, what was that decision? What did that decision look like?
Well, it's interesting because I've gone through. Well, okay, so to answer your first question, that happened in a way accidentally. Well, the first was my first mentor, who was my grandfather, George Moses, actually kind of inspired me to go ahead and be independent from 18 on, right? So I went into the Navy when I was just a young guy. I had no idea what a 6 year contract was, but I recognized and that the military was something that I could work within, but that it didn't reflect who I was as a person and how I wanted to forge my career. So it was very informative because it helped me understand my values. In particular, one of the things that came out of it was the difference between where I was and what education would allow me to grow into, which is why I eventually pursued my bachelor's and master's degree in management, because I wanted to rise up and do um, good works, but also have be entrepreneurial. So to answer the first part of your question is how do you land in entrepreneurship? It was almost by accident. And here's
Accidental entrepreneur.
here's the story.
Yeah.
So I went to San Francisco State University, and they have a great broadcasting and communications department. They
Mm.
call it BECA, Broadcast and Electronic Communications Department. And I didn't realize going in that as when I studied that when I came out, I was going to be freelancing. And no one tells you that right? They say,
They're showing
okay,
careers, right?
here's your diploma, good luck. And
Yeah.
as it turns out, historically and actually, you know, the universities, NYU, Emerson, USC, San Francisco State, all of the big broadcast and production universities, they put out every 4 years, they put out enough graduates to replace the entire industry. Well,
Mhm.
there isn't that kind of turnover. So then you're out there and you actually now have to start networking. You have to start calling producers. You have to actually create a freelance business for yourself. So I was working at different radio stations, KTSF. I was working with Viacom. I was a field producer and cameraman for
Wow.
hire. So I was doing all those things, and so in a way, that just became my reality. I was like, oh, okay, this is all me. And of course, you're looking for the cherry job that is full time with perks and benefits and W-2. But that led to my actually, you know, being a 1099 kind of guy. But what ended up happening is I did end up going into international product line management for a high end lighting company out of Burlingame.
Yeah.
Went to a high end production studio doing sales and marketing. And then the dot com bomb hit, and I had to reinvent
Mm,
myself. So the dot
mm,
com bomb was in 2001, and I had to reassess and reinvent myself, right? Because all of a sudden, everyone, all of Apple, Compaq, Silicon Graphics, which are all some companies that have gone away, um,
mm.
HP, all of those companies quit doing original storytelling, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So then I'm out of business. I'm laid off for the first time in my life, and I am left to contemplate and think about what I want to do. So I went to the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce had an employee services company called LifePrint, and with a career counselor, I kind of took the Myers Briggs and what color is your parachute, and I was either going to be a priest, go into insurance, or real estate
Yeah.
by virtue of my profile.
Yeah.
And so enterprising, social, you know, creative. And I decided in real estate because I had some friends
Mm,
who were in it. And I really appreciated one of the things that I really appreciated at that moment was their autonomy,
mm.
their control over their schedule, um, and their lives. So I did some informational interviews, and one of them said, "Hey, I've got plenty of business. Come on over. Let me help you out."
Oh,
And I
wow.
actually started as an assistant in real estate, and he his we doubled his best year ever in my first year being in real estate. So
I love
I
that.
yeah, so that's how that was the full story of
I
how I
love
got
how
into real estate.
deliberate. I love how deliberate you were with like even just taking the Myers Briggs and let me evaluate myself and really find out where my comfort level is and where I am, you know? Can you share an example of a time when you doubted your skills or your ability as an entrepreneur? Like, how did you overcome this?
You know, in for instance, in real estate as a licensee, and I have a broker's license in the state of California. The fail rate is very high. There's like an 85% fail rate within 2 years. And as we're watching this right now at SFAR, San Francisco Association of Realtors, the renewal rate of licensees is down up to 15%.
Oh, wow.
So these are kind of uh, tight times, and there's some constraints on it. So the fail rate is very high, and of course in my business, I don't get compensated unless I'm successful for my client. It's like literally, it's the true meritocracy, right? It's not hey, I'm billing by the hour, or it's not, here's the deliverable. Well, our deliverable is a home or a property, and so but we have to deliver what the objectives are of the client, and unless they're satisfied with and want to proceed and we're successful for them, we're speculating our time.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a high wire act, and it does take
Well,
a
how do you stay
certain disposition
motivated?
and skill. What's that?
Well, yeah, how do you stay motivated and focused during a challenging time like what we're going through right now as a real estate professional? Because I'm
I'm, you
thinking
know,
every profession, by the way, goes through some highs and lows because of the economy and changes that happen. Like my industry's AI is disrupting so much. Writers are being disrupted by AI. So much is being disrupted there as well. And with you, it's the economic ebbs and flows, right? But how do you stay in it? You know?
well, the one of the things, and it relates to my industry, is that uh, housing is really principle and basic, right? And it's
Yeah,
a
it's like a necessity,
physical.
right?
It,
Yeah,
it's very physical,
yeah,
meaning
yeah.
it has geography, it has land under it. You have to go see it. You want to touch it. So it literally. So let me back out from that and say my business and my practice is relationship based, not
Mm,
transactional, right?
mm,
And so that's what separates me from some of my competition, is that I am in relationship with my people, and my fulfillment is in delivering the results and the outcomes that they want in real estate. Um, and I work by, frankly, I just work by referral.
yeah.
And so and going back to my production days, you're only seen and as good as your last happy client, or your last happy product, or the last successful production, right? So everyone looks back at your work and says, "Hey, is he worthy of working with? Are
Mm.
other people talking about him? Are other people referring him? Are his people or his constituents or stakeholders referring him forward?" And that's basically the sort of part of where I come from, and how I actually am both, you know, really fulfilled by what I do, but I also get up every day and look to continue to push forward and help people succeed in real estate, and get their deliver their objectives in real estate.
So one of the things I'm hearing here is networking as a solution, building those relationships. Talk to me about relationship building because you mentioned that a couple of times. I'm going to say the statement, um, every man is an island, everyone's self-made as an entrepreneur. What do you say to that statement?
I would say every well, first off, I went to San Francisco State, so
Yeah,
I'd have to say every human, or every person,
yeah.
not every man, because it excludes 51% of the population. So that's my first piece of feedback. Second would be nobody is successful. I think it's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go at it alone. If you want to, uh, gosh, I'm going to mess this up.
I always mess
If
it
you
up
want to go far,
if you want to
or
go far. Yeah.
do it together and forge ahead.
Mm.
I have paraphrased that, and it's not exactly, but basically, no
I always
one.
mess up that quote too, by the way. I love it and I always mess it up.
So it's something like that. Hey,
Yeah.
if you wanna be a solopreneur and you wanna forge ahead, make it your name, real estate, or make it your name, and it's all about you. That's okay. And there are some people that are very successful at that. But if you want to go far, you need to put together a team. You need to have the support. You're going to have a lot of people that help propel you forward. And my stakeholders are also my clients, and they're who keep me moving ahead. And if I do great work for one, that can turn into two or three additional clients, right?
I love
So
that.
that network, and building that bridge and having that positive relationship, it's all about positivity, and really advancing people's interests,
I love it.
no matter what, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, as you and I know and have discussed in the past, it's also about giving. So if you're out there continually giving, and helping propel people forward, and really not expecting anything in return, then naturally people are going to come back and give to you, right? And
Absolutely.
it may not be to the person you gave. and maybe to all these people over here that maybe are observing it, or
Yeah.
maybe just watch this video and say, hey, Marcus seems like someone that I would like to have on my team. And so they call me and they say, Marcus, I saw the video with Paula and I really enjoyed your energy. I liked your philosophy. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens.
Yeah. Listen, till this day, people, my friends make fun of me about Starbucks. Oh, you go to Starbucks, Starbucks, Starbucks. Like, I love Starbucks, but what they don't realize is I love Starbucks because of the interview that I heard years and years ago on CNN with the then CEO. And I was so impressed at how he treated his people, and his views on healthcare, that I was like, this is the place that I'm going to support. I love this, because not many American companies of that size I'd ever heard speak that way before. And I love it, So, how do you view failure then? Because it sounds like you have a very different view of failures and setbacks. How do you view that? And what should other entrepreneurs, the ones who are in it and the ones just starting, what should they know about this?
I think that failures are just a part of any organization, any business, any life experience, right? There's failed relationships, there's failed transactions, there's failed ideas, there's failed approaches. There are so many ways you can fail, and I think that what is sometimes misnomer or misconception, even in our capitalistic society, is that that's a negative. I
Mm,
actually think it as I see it as a positive, which literally builds your wisdom, literally gives you pause to think about, okay, I just experienced a failure. What can I learn from it?
what I
What is
learned.
the silver lining?
Yeah.
Instead of so, and so this maybe goes back to my submarine days, where you're out there with 150 other professionals in a tube with no windows, and you get to be really introspective, right? So
Yeah.
when I go through a failure, I go into myself and I think, okay, how how much of that was me, how much of that was the environment, how much was that the other party, what was the environment in which we did that it didn't work out, and then how do I retool, how do I redirect, how do I um, put that behind me, but then proceed with that experience and that now wisdom. And it's funny, from where I sit, I you start to understand the whole concept of turning to your elders because they have been through a lot of different things, and what we're talking about is both wins and losses, right?
Yeah.
Or failures and gains in life, and both inform our wisdom, both inform our wisdom and our ability to, in a moment's notice. And this is what's interesting. Our Marlena and our son is getting married next week, and
Oh,
so
congratulations.
there's this evolution of, and you kind of see your children and you see where they're heading and what they're doing, and you kind of watch and you're like, oh, this is about to happen, and they're about to walk over here. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if they, and sometimes you have to let people find things out on their own.
On their own.
Sometimes you give them guidance, in particular if you know that it's really bad, and if they seek it,
Yeah.
sometimes they're not ready for the information. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
facing, just, I think that if we as entrepreneurs accept failure as a part of business reality, I think the sooner we're able to accept it and actually learn from it,
The
and then
easier it
move
would be, right?
and then move on, right?
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
because I think that well, there are
And
countless
embrace it too.
stories.
Embrace it too, right? Just, okay,
Yeah.
this is happening. There's this Japanese quote about the two brush theory. One means it basically swoops in opposite directions from each other, like the Pisces. One means crisis, but the other, is means success, right?
Hmm.
And they're opposite ends from each other because it's formative, right? And so instead of fighting it, beating yourself up about it. Why not use that time to go, what did I learn? I made a mistake, I messed up. What was the learning there, right? I think that would be the better, like, the perspective. Let's look at a better mirror at ourselves, you know? Um,
That's absolutely right. So I think embracing failure and actually learning from it. You know, they say if when you make and you look at historic context, right? When there's major failures in at the political and nationalistic and sovereign level, you know, if you don't learn from your mistakes or errors or failures, then you are doomed to repeat it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So every time you have a failure, it actually, to me, the silver lining is that is what informs your wisdom going forward.
I know we're getting to the end of the show, but I really wanted to ask you about personal development. I think the easiest part of starting a business is starting a business. I mean, when I speak to first-time entrepreneurs, like, oh, like I finally got a business up and going, and I always say to them, that's nothing. All you did was open the door. That was the easy part. You know, the more challenging portion of it is the day-to-day operation and growth of the business. Um, Personal development, I think, is a big part of that. Can you share a bit about that, and even how you work it into your time as well?
Yeah, every week I actually set aside time, you know, because there's working in the business and then there's working on the business. And within that context, I always have education, which is my philosophy and perspective is that I'm a work in progress, and therefore
Me too.
anyone and everything that's happening with me and around me is also a work in progress.
Yeah,
So, and that will be till the day I die, because honestly, you know, I don't have all of, you know, I'm not AI. I don't have all the answers, but I like to think that I surround myself and have access to a lot of really wise and bright people. And this is the part where you know you can go ahead and forge it on your own, but you really it is a team effort. And in my world, as Helm real estate, it's a crew effort. And to
yeah,
me, a
absolutely.
crew actually represents coming together and being collaborative, working in partnership, and being mutually supportive so that you can forge ahead.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. Marcus, that, like, I know I gotta wrap the show. I'm like, I have so many more questions I want to ask you, sir. It's time to get folks back to their day. If you want to connect to Marcus, I want you to reach out to him. Check out the website. I will drop all that information in so you'll have it, as well as his blog, by the way. The real estate market all over the country is going through something interesting right now, and San Francisco is always been on that cutting edge of so much. And so they have a fantastic blog. Please reach out to them to subscribe to it and just get it in your inbox every week. Marcus, thank you so much for being on the show, sir. I really like appreciate you so much for being on.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
Anytime.
absolutely. Our continued mission statement since 2017, I need to say that more, is to introduce you to what I call everyday experts, business owners who share and give of themselves, their time, their expertise to up level you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel by yourself. The information is either in a book or it's out there, and they're wonderful people like Marcus are willing to share. And of course, I'll inspire you with some marketing tips as well. So thank you so much for watching the show. We are on every Thursday. This is live, by the way. It's not beautifully edited. This is us raw and live on LinkedIn. And Marcus, as we close the show, can you do a closing quote to close us out today?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I don't have the author of this, but people don't. The quote I really that kind of resonates with me and that I believe in is because I take care of my people, both who work with me and the clients that I work with. Are people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I think that's Maya Angelou, isn't it? I think.
I could look it up real quick, but it may very well be no
And
Oakland native,
why do you like that quote so much?
because it's true.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true. You know, I think in this day and age where we're starting to operate strictly by text and technology and Zoom and online, pressing the flesh and actually looking in someone's eyes is still important with regard to building bridges, with regard to building relationships, and ultimately with regard to all things being different, all things being equal or unequal. People want to work with people they like, trust, have confidence in, and you really have to care
Yeah.
about each other and people in order to have people basically hire you and
Yeah.
bring you and draw you towards them.
And
Otherwise,
actually, I'm just going to add in your vendors and your employees as well.
all of it, all of it. If you don't bring a attitude of gratitude and a disposition of care, then then you're just another shop where you're transaction based. You're not relationship based, and that's what
Yeah.
we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that lesson applies for every industry, folks. Everyone, how you apply your service. You could be very focused on the transaction and forget the human. Even if you see the crash around you. I mean, because but I will tell my clients sometimes, don't even start marketing with me right now because I see all these other pieces that are about to fall. Can I introduce you to someone? Don't spend the money with me. Let's spend it on a CFO first or a banker or something else or an insurance person. Let's look at something else. So that one really hits so much. Marcus, thanks again. Viewers, I know you guys always do this on the re-air. I appreciate that so much. Please continue to view, share, watch. If you miss this, you want to share it. It's also over on YouTube as well. Connect with us, like it, comment, because comments are everything. Stay strong during these interesting changes and keep moving forward. Marcus, again, thank you so much. And to the viewers, have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.